Okay, we're going to be painting my Channel Islands painting from the National Parks workbook. Some of this may be repeat information if you have watched one of my videos before, but if this is your first, welcome. I'm starting the sky. I added a little bit more like green in my sky this time, just kind of that California coastline sky. And then you'll see I come in with a little bit more blue and just kind of add it to the horizon a little bit more. When you add a second color into the sky like that, as it dries, like it'll kind of bleed together and just creates like a really beautiful wash. As you're doing the water, I tend to stick to like horizontal strokes in the water so that you kind of get that linear like look of the ocean. And then I'm kind of doing like a wash first, and then later on I'll come in and add like some more strokes onto the dry watercolor. This color is pretty much like straight out of the pan, and I use it a lot. I really like this color. Okay, now we're going to be going and doing the islands, lots of greens. You can mix around with your colors in your color chart to like find some greens that you love, but I tend to add a lot of like yellow and orange to my greens. I just like the kind of warm hue to it. And I'm first just kind of going in and basically just filling in the color. It doesn't really matter too much about what it looks like this first pass. You don't want it to be too dark. It's a big thing with watercolors is like not adding too much pigment to your washes. Less is always more. You can always come back and add more colors. So, and I'm kind of just going through, you can see visually how it has like kind of different layers. So each one of those layers, I'm just doing a different color so that it looks like it kind of like fades into the background a little bit. Okay, and now I'm going through and I'm just kind of dragging that color down. And then I'll come through with some brown and kind of bring it up like from the base a little bit. And I'll wash those colors together and let them blend a little bit. As I'm doing, you can see like as I'm doing the detail, I am using the point of the brush, and then like right here, I'm dragging that color through. I'm using the side of my brush. Um, and then you don't want to, again, a lot of this may be repetition if you watch this, but if you don't want colors to bleed together, like make sure that those areas are dry before moving on to the next one. I sped up this painting a little bit just so that you can see it a little bit quicker, but this painting took about 20 minutes. So it doesn't take a ton of time to wait like in between areas to dry. Like usually I can go to another area and by the time I get back to the next section, it's dry, especially if I'm doing like lighter washes and not adding a ton of water. My biggest concern with like drying time is like not wanting this green to like bleed into the water or like brown into the water. So like on these green ones when I'm coming back, I'm not as concerned about drying time in between, because if it green bleeds into green, obviously it's just gonna enhance the look. Or like here where I'm okay with that brown bleeding into the green above because that's the look I'm going for. So I'm just kind of going through, adding some more detail, darkening the edges a little bit, and then dragging that color through, just blending it in a little bit. Sometimes like you may worry about like something you've done, but allow enough time to kind of walk away if you need, because watercolor does some really cool things as it dries. And so even though an area might not like look what you think it's going to be, by the time it dries, it's like, oh, that actually ended up exactly how I wanted it. So here I'm just going through, I'm using the point of my brush and I'm just kind of like making like grass strokes, basically just like up and down, adding some detail. I don't have a ton of pigment in it because I already have like a layer of color behind. So I'm just going through and adding a little bit more dimension. Watercolor doesn't need to be like, you'd never really want to do like a full like wash. Like every time you're doing a layer, you should be thinking about like leaving spots that are coming through from the layer behind. Here I'm just coming through, adding some color into the flowers. I had left those, or tried to leave them mostly white. It wasn't perfect, but it doesn't really matter. And on this first one, like I feel like my yellow was like a little bit green. So in a minute I'll come back and I add like a little bit of orange to it because I feel like the flowers kind of like disappeared a little bit. Okay, and then same thing, just kind of coming through, adding flowers. You'll see like the pigment was a little dark, so I just blotted it out with a towel. And then I blotted my brush on the paper towel after that to lighten the wash. Okay, and here's where I'm going back in, adding some orange to those yellow flowers. Okay, and now I'm going back in. This section is obviously all dry, so I'm just adding like some horizontal brush strokes, not across everywhere, just a few different areas. I darken around like the base of those islands right there, drag it out a little bit, and then I'm gonna call it good. Like you don't want to overdo it. It's just adding just a little bit of dimension and detail. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it. So obviously you can go through and you can do this however you want. It doesn't have to be like mine. The sketch does so much of the work that that's the best part about these paintings, is that you can come in and be creative and do this painting however you want.